Have you subscribed to the Noteworthy newsletter? If you want to learn more about the latest news, strategies, and opportunities in the real estate note investing space, you need to subscribe. We're so convinced you're going to love it that we're giving away a free 3-month trial subscription to our podcast listeners. Simply go to www.notetools.com/free newsletter to get your trial subscription today. That's notetools.com/free newsletter.
All right, let's roll. All right, everybody, welcome to the webinar. Ben Fredericks here with you from Noteworthy. I'm excited to be with you today. It's been a couple of months since we did our last webinar, and generally try to take a little bit of time in the summer to just engage with family and make the most of that time. But there were some interesting things going on in the news in terms of foreclosures, and I thought it would be important to begin to address that a little bit and some of the opportunities that I think we're going to see as investors. And foreclosures are beginning to go up significantly in several states, especially here in Florida where I live. But having said all that, that got me thinking about, basically the last 5 to 7 years where we've had this tremendously low interest rate environment. And it got me thinking about my friend who's joining me today and how he has really positioned himself as an expert in the space of subject to in terms of taking over mortgages. So welcome to the webinar, my friend Travis Oglesby. Good to see you, buddy.
Hey, man. Good to see you, dude. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So I thought this was kind of a cool topic to just go over again and like dive a little bit deeper into it in terms of what you're doing, some of the successes that you're seeing, and talk about that a bit. So before we get into that, can you talk a little bit about your background as an investor and then how you came to be, in this particular space as an investor that's sort of niche?
Yeah, I definitely can. Let me start off because people always give me a hard time for like this woodshed that I work in, but I always like to kind of tell everybody what it is. So like we bought my grandparents' place when they passed away, and my grandpa died like 12 years ago. But this was his shed, and like he hung this stuff up behind me and whatnot. And so it's just like, it's cool. It means a lot to me. And so like I just leave it the way it is. I did stick a router right there. So everything else I just haven't really touched. But I always like to start with that because people are like, who's this goofball in a shed? But still a goofball, but know a couple things about a particular spot in real estate. But yeah, dude. So anyway, like why did I get into this? Why am I in it now? Why am I still in it? And so I'm probably like most of the guys that watch this, like I was a wholesaler, I was a flipper, and I wasn't half bad at it. And, got pretty good at making 5, 10, 20, 30, whatever a month, and was kind of having to like work my tail off for it. And I really got to the point where I just wanted to grow it like as much as possible, because I was like, cool, if I blow this thing up and I have this big team and everybody doing it for me, then it's a form of cash flow, right? Because cash flow is like, the goal of it is a mostly passive item that shows up in your bank account, and it's enough that you want to live off of. And so in whatever form, right? Business, real estate, whatever. And so that was my goal. And man, I could just never get it there without like heavily my involvement. And it either had the sales on the front or sales on the back or contractor problems. So wholesaled and flipped for 4 years. Got to where I was doing probably 3 or 4 deals a month. Absolutely working my tail off. I came from medical sales in the orthopedic space, so I kind of knew how to hustle and sell and get the job done, but it always just involved me. And luckily, man, one day a buddy had called me after like the 10th video that I'd been posting on Facebook that day. And he was like, you just look worn out. You should look into this creative financing space. And so fortunately, that phone call happened like 4 years ago. And so now today, I'll buy 5 to 6 homes a month, still flip probably 2 a month. But my internal goal is $1,000 to $1,200 cash flow growth per month. And that's where we spend all our time and focus at. And I do it really through anything through creative financing, whether it's buying it sub 2, buying it seller finance, buying a contract for deed, like whatever. I just don't want to have to use my own money as much as possible. And then like you, Ben, I really like to wrap them and just play the bank because that's what makes the most sense to me.
Okay. So yeah, you talked about where a lot of people get their start, right, is in the wholesaling space, which is not really anything that I've ever done. Like I've dipped my toe into wholesaling and I've absolutely hated it. It just wasn't really enjoyed doing. So I my genesis was like, we're buying deals from banks directly and then just creating paper on that right away. And so, with wholesaling, which there's nothing wrong with it. Like we both know people that just crush it with wholesaling. They do very, very well. The only thing that I think they'd all agree with is that with wholesaling, you're starting from zero everything, right? Like you're only as good as your last, because you're having to dump all this money into marketing, direct mailers, texting, cold calling, all these different SEO and pay per click and all these different things. And you're really just kind of trying to feed that beast, instead of feeding the beast of your cash flow, like you were talking about. So,
the thing I always joke about too, sorry to cut you off, man, but the thing I always joke about too, like, and I say this on purpose just to get their attention. It's not a arrogance, not a butthead comment, but I always say like wholesalers are the best at what they do and the least paid. And so I'll have wholesalers argue it with me and whatnot, and that's fair. But like, I don't really say it to be a butthead about it. I say it to like, hey man, you should just check this site out. Because there are times because we get paid three ways, right? Like we get a down payment, we get a big O note equity, and we get cash flow. And so my average down payment, it kind of has shrunk lately. It's more like 17,000. It used to be 25 and 20. Now it's kind of still coming down. I do think the economy is finally starting to constrict a little bit and people are running out of funds. But I get 17K up front. My minimum note equity, unless I'm doing a super tight deal, is usually around 50K. That's probably pretty average, 40 to 50K. And then minimum cash flow is always 500 to 600 per month. And that's per house. That's one house, right? So you get the money on the front, you get a big O note equity that grows on the back, and then you're getting paid every single month for 30 years. And then if you really understand the side of it, because I think, honestly, I think sub 2 is just the beginning. Then you get into the note side. Right. And then you want to go even farther than the note side. Then you start trading notes as well. Right. We sit in these equity exchange rooms. I just traded 14 notes for an RV park a month ago. And it's a phenomenal deal. And it's a way that I can cash out my notes at face value instead of discounting. And so there's so many things you can unlock in this. And I always feel like sub 2 is like the hub. If you understand sub 2, then you understand the complexity of real estate, and then you can do tons of different things. My development deals are done through seller financing.
You just said something that really just kind of blew my mind. Like you traded your notes for a different deal. And I've been doing this for like 6 years now, and I've never once considered doing it. Like,
really? Yeah. It's you wouldn't have any problem with it, but it's the best way I've seen to. So I'll give you guys like the details of it. So it's 14 mobile homes, absolute pieces of shit mobile homes, but it works in the owner financing space because our buyers really want to get to own a home. And so you give them a junker, they make it beautiful. And so it's not that we're not giving them something they want. We're giving them exactly what they want. They make it gorgeous. And so anyway, 14 mobile homes, bought them for, I don't know, it was like 400, 300,000. I brought in a private lender and he gets a third of the deal and created 1.4 million in notes. So just 100K a house, got small down payments, and they're good cash flow. And so it's cash flowing, I think 14 or 15,000 a month. And so I have a developer friend who you can leverage my 14,000 in cash flow to go then buy more parks. And so I get the deed to his $4.1 million park. And he gets 3 years to buy it back from me. And so at the end of 3 years, which he pays me $2,500 first year a month, $5,000 a month the second year, and $7,500 the third year. And then at the end of it, he gives me 1.4. And so I get to make 150 over 3 years, and I get 1.4 to cash my notes out at face value, or I get his 4.1 park. So really good scenario for me. I would love to have the park, but I definitely don't want him to get in that situation. But you can just see how, like, I know that probably either some people missed it or whatnot, but learning subject to, there's a reason why so many people wholesale, and there's a reason why so many people flip homes. It's like, it's not hard to buy this for less and then sell it to somebody else for more. And that's why so many people do it. And that I think that's kind of why we have like our niche in the space, and we can kind of, I had to pause my buying for this month, and I'll touch on marketing too, but I had to pause my buying for this month because we got too many damn houses and I'm bleeding too much cash holding them because I can't get rid of them fast enough.
Yeah, that's the one thing to sort of be prepared for, right? Like, because you're taking over an existing mortgage payment, and you got to be on time with that payment, and it may take you a little bit to find the end buyer, right? So you've got the end buyer in place before you buy that deal, but that's not always the case, especially, and I don't know, are you buying just in one particular area, or is it all over the place?
I'm Augusta, North Georgia. I'll kind of dabble in Alabama and then South Carolina. So basically, like, a couple hours one way. I've got several in Nashville, Tennessee, but I just buy from a buddy that wholesales sub-twos.
How did you identify those markets? Were those considered like emerging markets that were, an ideal fit for home buyers, or like what kind of went into that for you?
Yeah. So truthfully, North Georgia is just where we started. It's where, back then I had a Sam was my partner, and he just lived there. And so we just started there. And then the market just wasn't being good enough to us to be able to buy the homes. And so just started looking at different places within a couple hours to where my team could go if like an emergency came up. And so Augusta, Georgia, I think is one of the best markets in the United States, because I could still buy a brick ranch in a good area for 80 to 120,000 bucks, whether that's cash or sub-2. And I know that my market can get 1,500 bucks per month in rent, which means I can own or finance the home at that price. And if I'm buying a $120,000 home at 3 or 4%, that P&I payment's barely $600-700. So it can get me close to, I tell people like, hey, you should expect to cash flow 500 or 600 bucks per month. Truthfully, we usually cash flow like 1,000 or more on some of our houses. And so I say 500 to 600 so people believe it, because they don't tend to believe the 1,000. But that's probably turning into our average deal now, and that's just due to inflation. But
so there's a few things to unpack here that I really wanted to dig into with you today. One was, finding these deals. That's always, like, I think the biggest challenge. Like, once you find the deal, like, you can figure out a way to put it together. It's just, made at that particular point. But how do you find somebody that says, hey, I've got a 3-4% mortgage that I had, and then they're willing to just, allow you to take it over and walk away from those payments? Like, because it's a very, complex discussion. There's the, we can get into that, but first of all, just finding those opportunities. What are some of the tactics that you use to find those?
Yeah, so I'll talk to it. There's a couple different ways to like go about it, but the nice thing is if you take like an existing guy, right? Because like I like only working with like existing investors. I will do some new guys, but like let's just say you take guys' existing businesses and they're already doing a wholesale or two or flip or two. They're buying a couple deals a month. The nice thing is they don't really have to change anything in their marketing. If they're doing PPC, texting, they just have to change how they pitch it. And so they need to start being able to say like, hey, there's 2 ways I buy homes. The first is I can pay you cash. The second is I can take over your payment and I can probably pay you a little more. And they hang on to that. I can probably pay you a little more. And therefore you stick out amongst everybody else that goes on the appointment. And therefore they start asking you, well, what do you mean you can pay me more if you take over my payments? And then you explain it to them. Well, we typically buy 2 or 3 homes a month, and we begin making your mortgage payments for you. The home is sold, deed goes into my name, debt stays in yours. That right there will trigger 8 common objections, and all you have to do is be able to answer all 8, or just be ready to answer them with confidence. Sometimes people don't even ask. They're like, oh, cool, you'll make the payment and I don't have to do anything? Awesome. But a lot of times they'll start asking you the questions of, how do I know you're going to make my payment? What happens if you don't make my payment? And again, there's 8 of them that you're going to get 97% of the time. And if you can answer them, with the immediate confident answers, and then also have the paperwork to back it up if needed, then it's just super simple to be able to do it. Then it just turns into a conversational piece, because it doesn't work for everybody, but it works for a lot. So that's one part of it. That's like how you find them today, right? Is like, you really just need to change up your script. Buying sub 2 is not hard. It's not simple. And if you've never done it, you don't know what you don't know. Once you do it, then you got it. And so, but the way that I buy, so I do, I was writing some of them down and whatnot, but I was trying to throw my marketing budget together. I just didn't get it. So I spend about 3,000 or 4,000 a month. It's usually around 3,800 a month per marketing. So I'll do, and that would get 5 to 6 houses a month. And we'll do PPC is a nice one. I can't really spend much in Augusta. I can't really get the lead volume. So my budget's 10 grand. I barely spend 1,800 or 2 grand a month. It just can't get the clicks in the areas. And so the nicest one that I really like doing is texting. So I use Launch Control. My buddy Aaron owns the company, and Ashley are amazing people, but it's just a good tool. They're TCPA compliant. They know what they're doing. Like, they got their tool just works. And so I text pre-foreclosures in the entire state. And so that's a super easy way that'll always get us at least 1 deal per month. Don't even worry about equity. Click the pre-foreclosure button and begin texting them. Equity doesn't matter, guys. There's 2 forms of ways to make money. There's equity in the price, which everybody gets, right? Wholesalers get that because you got to buy it deep. But there is more money in the terms. And so there's equity in terms. And that's where we have that 3 and 4% rate. And so I know I'm talking a lot and bouncing a lot, but like, to your question, Ben, is like, how do you have a conversation about somebody having 3 or 4% rate? You don't need to. Odds are they already have it. And so you don't really need to have the question. Yes, you can ask that question if you want, if it's comfortable and comes up, or you can just find out in the due diligence. We got 24 years of, sub 5s. We don't need to ask too many questions.
So are most of those deals, are you having to give that seller some walking money? Is
Yes.
that the process of having like your private lenders lined up if you want to take down that deal? Or is that just like you're recycling cash flow from other deals, or both?
Yeah, I think it can be a little bit of both. I mean, I still run out of money, all the time too. I only have so many $10,000 and $20,000 walkaways. But guys, what Ben is talking about is the walkaway money. So let me share my screen here real quick. Okay, can you see that, Ben? Can you see that, Ben? Okay, cool. Okay. So let me show you guys just like a mortgage statement here. So I'll do some highlighting so you guys can see a few things. But the main thing that you care about, the main thing that you guys care about is the rate, right? And then what you're going to be buying it for. So that $97,000 is what we purchased it for. Now, I did have to give this seller 10 grand on this one. Or I'm sorry, no, this one was 5 grand. I gave this seller $5,000 in walk away. So that means, hey, Mr. Seller, this guy's name is John. So, hey, John, like, I will give you $5,000 if you will let me take over your mortgage. If you'll begin letting me make your mortgage payments. And so again, you can see the debt, the rate there is 4.75. I'm going to wrap it at 10. So I can show you guys what the exit looks like on this. But we typically do always give walkaway money. It can be anywhere from $1,000 for them to move, $1,000 for them to put a down payment, all the way up to, I've done it up to 30,000 just because the deal was that good. But usually anything over 10,000 bucks in walkaway, guys, and you can do this for wherever you're at. I have a little extra ammo, and I have some private lenders who will fund this stuff now. But anything over 5,000, let's say you don't have a bunch of money, anything over 5,000 bucks, you can start telling the seller, hey, look, yes, I'll take over your 97,000 mortgage. Got that. And they want 20,000 and walk away. Well, hey, like, I can give you some of that at closing and then some of it after closing. And then they're going to be like, well, how much at closing? And then you're going to reply with, well, how much do you need at closing? And so the whole goal there is really to get them to where you need them, whether it's 1,000 at closing, 5,000 at closing, and then 500 a month till paid in full, or 5,000 at closing and then 15,000 in 10 years. and we never bring up the word interest. And so a lot of times been like anything over 10 grand, man, we always try to get it on terms.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. So care if I show you guys what this one looks like on the back end side of it when I sell it? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So guys, the mortgage on that one was $97,000, 97 and change. The walk away was $5 grand. So that means I gave the seller 5,000 in cash. It needed about 20,000 in repairs. ARV was about 170. So it was a pretty good deal to begin with. But I sold this, and actually, here's the cool part. I'm pretty sure I had the purchase and sale agreement here too. I do. So there's the purchase and sale agreement, guys. And I think it's even, let's see here. It's just one page. Okay, I wanted to show you, make sure you guys knew it was signed. But anyway, so sold it for 165,000, got 20K down. So pretty typical deal for us. But let me go back to the numbers. Go ahead.
And you charge a 3% origination fee?
I do. Yep. We call it an administration fee now. Origination fee can kind of get you into trouble unless you're running RMLOs, but we do, I call it an admin fee. So to the total mortgage, we would add 3%, guys. It's just another way that you can add $5,000 to $6,000 onto most mortgages. And I roll it into the loan. Don't make them pay it at closing. That way they don't have to come out of pocket.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So sold it at 165,000. My down payment was 20 grand. My interest rate, I usually always am around 10. Sometimes we'll go a little less, and that makes a payment. Damn, this is my calculator, right? So I don't know about you guys, but we use a 10 BII. Let me show you this. It's just my financial calculator. Let's see here. What do we say? So we got a mortgage of 145,000. And that's our present value. Interest rate is 10%. There's the monthly. 1272. And so, you guys remember how we mentioned we get paid 3 ways on this? I'm going to show you. First, let me see what the P&I payment was. So it is this 186 that's highlighted over here, and this 365. What is that? 186 plus 365. 551. All right. Profit, everybody's favorite part. So we get paid off the down payment, the note, and the cash flow. So, guys, we gave the seller 5 grand and we got 20,000. Let's just assume we didn't pay closing costs, but 15 grand. Or you know what? Let's pay everything. So you profited 10 grand on that. So probably a typical wholesale deal. Next, you've got your note equity. That's the difference between 97,000 and 145,000. It's those two. What is that? 47 grand. And then here's your big one. So guys, this cashes out whenever they either buy, sell, or refinance the property. And then now we've got our cash flow. It's this minus this. 1272 minus 551. 721. Every month for 30 years. And so that's your 3 profit centers on this. It's the 3 ways we get paid. So got a little long-winded with that, but I want to show you guys that just so they could see it.
So I want to ask you some note stuff, because that's where a large part of our audience is. And I know, like, the first time you came to Noteworthy, like, one of the things that we talked about was you had come with a bunch of notes, and I was like, awesome, who underwrote these for you? And you kind of looked at me like, what do you mean? I think
Yeah.
we did.
Yeah.
Well, it makes your notes a lot more valuable when you have like an RMLO, like you just mentioned, underwriter.
Mm-hmm.
Right or wrong. Like, I don't think an RMLO is more qualified than you to underwrite somebody, but it's just the BS that we have to deal with, like, professionally, right? So that's
Yep.
one. You decide to do this. I would start out that way, like using an MLO to come in and underwrite these deals for you on the back end for your buyer. Because if you want to sell this note and get top dollar for it, like Travis is talking about, like some really cool creative stuff that he can do. And he's able to do that because he's got some gravitas in this game, right? Like he knows how to structure things, obviously, and how to speak the language. But it's just that one little nuance there that can really like up the value of your note. The other thing that I wanted to ask you about was if you structure any of these to keep a second mortgage.
I don't. No, I do not.
Okay.
I like it when people do that. So I keep everything that I wrap. I don't really sell anything. I did that one trade because that has like a really good benefit for me, and I can kind of cash out a lot. But yes, if you guys are creating notes to be able to sell them, then I think you want to run the RMLO. Creating seconds are phenomenal. In that example I showed you guys, like creating a $47,000 second would be amazing, and you could sell the front. Yeah. And so be a good way for like guys to really build up a portfolio of, cash flow.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was just one particular thought I had that was interesting. So talk to me about the closing process. Like, one of the big things that people are scared of on these types of deals is that the bank is going to call the note, right? So you have a very particular way of structuring your deals to more private. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. And I'll start by saying this, like, guys, if you're scared of the due one sale clause, like, it's a valid concern, and you should always hear everybody when they say, like, what about the due one sale clause? Just be ready for it to get called on you, because it's probably going to get called on you. And so you just need to know the proper ways to be able to handle it. Because if you're going to go do 50 of these or 100 of these, at some point, like, you're probably going to get called. I've been called 4 times on my notes. I've done them correctly inside of trust. I've done them correctly outside of trust, and I've still had them called. And so it's just all about like knowing what to do when the storm happens. And truthfully, it's really not that hard to fix it. It's actually very simple. I won't really go into that because that'll kind of have about 5 different pieces of paperwork, but it's very simple. The attorney does it, and it's just not as scary. It's not a reason to not do this. But how we minimize it is, so whenever I buy the home, we put the home into a land trust. Okay. And that land trust says 123 Main Street Trust. And so that bank, then, if they ever review the documents, which they rarely ever do, but let's say they do, and they're going to see that Sally Jones has transferred the deed into 123 Trust Main Street. And therefore, they're just going to see, oh, cool, she just put it into a trust, probably for some family reasons or whatnot, and they just dismiss it and pass on through it. Okay? Because then if it says a company, right, if it says Travis Oglesby Inc., or Travis Oglesby Investing, they're gonna be like, wait, what? Why? Why'd Sally Jones put it in Travis Oglesby Investing? And so it raises a few red flags at that point. And then if they start pulling on the string, they might find, the end of the rainbow with it. But so we just put it very simply, guys, into a trust on the front end. You don't need anything super special to do a trust. Most attorneys know how to do it. If they don't, I have my trustee that does it. You guys can just reach out to me and I'll connect you with him, but your attorney should be able to do it.
And you are you using because you're working in multiple states, right? Are you using an attorney in different states, or is it just one able to handle all of it?
So I have one attorney that will service Georgia and South Carolina. What is that title group that's in Investor Fuel with us? Pro Title?
Yeah.
No, Blueprint.
Yeah.
So Blueprint Title will do sub 2 in like 40 states or something, and they're nationwide. So you got one lender, or you got one attorney, one closer. They'll do them all. They're a little bit more expensive, but if you're a nationwide guy, that convenience, man, I would do that in a heartbeat.
I would find this hard to do nationwide just because of the marketing aspect, right? So you have to get a little bit more narrowly focused. That's why I asked that question about, like, if you were looking into specific emerging markets or whatever. But it's really comes down to the math, so, and
Mm.
like you can't get all the deals done right now. So nationwide would, I'm assuming, would not help that at all. Probably gonna make it
No, no, not right now. I mean, that, it's got a nice benefit though for those guys like doing nationwide wholesaling and they're using investor lift to be able to sell it. Like that, those PPC costs can be really low. And so they're just trying to buy something at 70, 80%, throw it up on investor lift, see if it sells. And so you could do the same with sub two. I just don't really like it because I buy some really big junkers. Sometimes we buy beautiful homes, but I just like really junky homes. You can get really good deals and really good terms on them. And it just makes me feel a lot better about if I have to send somebody there. So guys, when we buy a home sub two, like I don't touch it. I literally put a lockbox on the door. I might clean it out. I might remove some trash, but there's 3 lockboxes going on the door, front, back, and a side somewhere. All got the same code on it. We leave the back door unlocked too. And like my marketing system is very dialed in on how to sell it. And so we just sell complete junkers, and therefore I like to have them in my market in case like something just emergency happens with it. Like there's water running in it or, something crazy, like my guys can go. And I've figured out how to market for houses. And so I don't need to go nationwide. I can buy as many as I want in Augusta, with 200,000 population.
So with you just mentioned something there, if I need to clean it out, do you make your cash for keys sort of in do you entice them to get that based on the fact that they need a somewhat clean house?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah, if they would do that, because it is nice if you can just get a like house that doesn't stink. Most of my houses like smell bad, and so I have started Wendy will go in and clean them and make them like smell better. Because man, when you get to it, like if you've been doing this stuff for a while, like it does get really meaningful to these people that you're selling them a home. And so you remove this whole fact of everything we've talked about, right? Of like, I get to make a ton of money, you get to do this, you get to do that. Like it really comes back to like, hey, there is a family with 3 little children moving into this, a single mom who works her tail off, and she has always wanted to own a damn house. And you are getting to give her the opportunity to do it. And so now I put fences up all the time for kids. We've done playgrounds. We'll do like little things for them and stuff. Nothing too much because like I live in I grew up it was like a really poor area. So I like putting most of our time and contribution back into here and stuff. But it is a pretty neat business, at a certain point. It really, yeah, go make a lot of money. You're going to make a lot of money anyway in real estate. If you do it right, you sit in the seat long enough. But trying to take care of people is kind of cool too.
yeah, that was always like I think the more satisfying aspect of it was the people that got like, this is my chance to own something. I've never had that opportunity before. It's always been
Yeah. I mean, everybody should go try to find an owner financed home in your market. That'll tell you how valuable what you're going to learn is. Okay, you go find like supply and demand dictates what you can sell everything for. Supply and demand dictates how well you can do. Look at what the last 3 years have done for vehicles and houses, computers, and all kinds of shit. And so that'll tell you what you can sell things for. So you guys, everybody that's interested in doing this, you should go see how many wholesale deals you can find on Facebook Marketplace in your area. Okay, probably a ton, right? Or go to Investor, a ton of them. Then go try to find how many owner finance deals you can see. Not an investor owner financing, in which there probably aren't many of those either, but you should just go see. You'll probably find 2 or 3 if you're in a big metropolitan. Like you should go to Augusta, Georgia, search owner financing and like text me how many you see, because I bet they're all mine. And I try to get people to do it all the time. And they're like, nobody's ever there. So that should encourage you guys. If you're interested in doing this, if you're like busting your butt and like not really getting where you're wanting to go, because we all end up in cash flow at some point. And like it always seems like guys end up in notes for a little bit or development. And like there's just certain, like we just kind of stepstone our way through this. But there's a reason why guys are in this. And I don't know a single wealthy wholesaler. I don't know any wealthy flippers, but I know a ton of wealthy note guys. And so that's why we're in this space.
For sure. You talked a little bit about how to sell the properties, which is key, right? Because obviously you can get a great deal, but
Yeah.
if you sell that deal and you're stuck making a mortgage payment for the next 25 years, like
Yeah.
it's tough. So what are some of your like top three best practices when it comes to finding a buyer for that end deal?
Yeah. So there's one really cool way, and then I'll talk about actually finding it. So we do something, I don't do it anymore because I've sold so many homes under financing that I haven't even found one that I can't sell. But there's something you guys can do is where you can lock the home up sub 2 and then go owner finance it and close on the same day. So we call that a sub 3. So you can do all of that without ever actually having to pay for anything. You can get all of that profit like all at the same time. So it's almost like you're wholesaling the deal to an end buyer. So that's kind of a cool way if you're like concerned and risky. Like I'll teach some of my apprentices that. I don't really love that model because if you can't sell it, like you kind of broke the seller's heart and whatnot. But the way that I do it is we always close on the homes now. We don't do any repairs, and we simply put it on Facebook Marketplace. I used to do all kinds of other stuff. But guys, Facebook Marketplace is probably the most powerful tool. You know how to use it correctly, and you have somebody actually taking care of it. And then we post it on Facebook Marketplace, and we'll tag it in 10 groups, and we'll update those 10 groups every 3 days. And so you're going to have 100 people a day reaching out to you. Okay. And there is a really simple way to tell people what to do. Because what do you say to all these 100 people that are reaching out to you that click, hey, is this still available? Yes, it's fucking available. Like I would have put it as sold, how we all get at a certain point with that. And so you need to be able to reply to them like extremely quick and just simply. And so guys, I have this super long text thread that goes out to them just by simply clicking a couple buttons. And I bet you I still have this. Let's see here. Let's share my screen. Let me see where my texts are. Here you go. So let's just say, let's do this one. Let's say somebody said, hey, is this house available? You type in a couple words of the address and look at what all pops up. Yes, it's available. Here's the address. Home needs updated repairs. We've priced accordingly. Please go take a look at it. I'll scroll this down. If anybody's doing this, you guys should just rip this off and repeat it and just put in there a few different words because this is what I do. And so again, I'll just show you, this is a keyword text thread. So I'm going to type in, watch. I even have one for, hey, what's your down payment? Shut up. Here's the answer to it. And so there's just nice ways that you can kind of cheat the system to be able to answer everybody really quickly because you're going to have a massive amount of tire kickers and you have to be able to sort through them very quickly. So
you disqualify people that are coming in quickly?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if they call us, if they've got our phone number and they call us and we'll ask them like, hey, what was your down payment again? And if it's not over $5,000, then we don't let them go to the house. And so anybody over $5,000, we always let them go to the house, guys, because you never know if people are telling you their real amount. But once they go to the home, then they can get bought in. And that wife can be like, oh, that yard, because that's the biggest question you're always going to get. How big is the yard? And so that's always our quickest qualifier is, hey, have you seen the home? No. Okay, great. We'll go to the house, check it out. The lockbox code is 1030 for today. And give me a call when you leave so I can check your license plate off the security camera. And oh, by the way, what was your down payment? Yeah. Done it a couple times.
All right, man. Well, this has been great. Like I could talk to Travis about this for hours. And I think probably we'll most likely do this again because I think there's some other things that we can get into in terms of like the back end of the note and all of that. So selling partial.
Yeah.
Just a ton of that's the best thing about creative finance, guys. Like is that it just gives you so many opportunities. Like here in the first 5 minutes of this, Travis blew my mind on something that I hadn't even considered yet in terms of being able to, trade my notes for a different asset that I might want, and I literally just bought something that maybe I could have done that and not have to go out and, raise money to do it, which is fine too, but it's just like nice to to shift maybe something somewhere else to get something else. And I thought that was really cool. And then
man. Yeah.
I'll just tell you the keyword text thing. When you shared that out in California, I was like,
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
am I doing this? I didn't know that existed. That's like,
Yeah.
I'm starting to show my age, because that's usually where the discrepancy is like, a little bit more about technology when you're younger. So
Yeah. Yeah. I know, man. I mean, I'm so thankful for it too. So it was.
yeah. The only bummer is I've been kicked off of Facebook Marketplace, and I think they're refusing to give me my account back. So
Oh man. Okay. There's a couple ways to get around that, but you can't really beat Facebook though. That's they're pretty good at what they do. So
you get anybody on the phone to dispute it, they don't tell you why. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Travis, you want to say how people can get in touch with you or learn more about this?
Yeah. So I'll put it in Ben's notes, guys. But I have an apprenticeship, so I teach guys how to do this. I usually work with 10 or 15 guys at a time. And it's a little group of people that we're all doing the same stuff, and you kind of get direct access to me. It's not some big rigmarole thing. So it's I just show you guys how I do exactly what I do, and I'll even do seller and buyer calls with you. So it's really unique. I can help guys kind of lock up deals, accelerate what they're trying to do, and you can hear somebody pitching, losing, winning, and everything that's been doing it for quite a while. But anyway, guys, I'll drop my information in the notes. I always give out my cell on this. My cell is 618-292-1213. Shoot me a text. My phone's on do not disturb most of the time throughout the day. But yeah, man, I hope this was of value to some guys too, because I get excited. Like I get excited when we get a BS with some buddies and stuff, and I bounce around a lot. But truthfully, guys, it is not that hard of a business to do on this side of things. It's just once you get it, you got it. Today, you don't know how to do it. And if you don't know how to do it, man, you need to learn, because when that economy crashes, it will be the best time in the world to know how to do this stuff.
And Travis is making it very simple here in terms of like just marketing to pre-foreclosures. Doesn't matter what their equity is. Turn on the marketing stream and see what starts coming in. When I first got involved in real estate, I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and a lot of times I was just like rolling through it, screwing stuff up, figuring it out, talking to other people. And, until you connect with people like Travis that are experts at what they do, that's where your skill level begins to go from here to here, because you get to basically adopt all of their skill set. They've already gone through all the mistakes, had the trials and tribulations, and now you can really kind of skip ahead of that stuff and move forward. So, and that's why Travis and I are in a group called Investor Fuel. It's a great value that if you're looking for a mastermind, it's worth checking out, because we have people from all different scopes, in terms of experts in wholesaling, apartment buildings, mobile home parks, notes, in the real estate space. And you can really learn from them. Even if it's not applicable to the niche that you're in, you're going to pick up a lot of something. So,
Cool, man.
Thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it. We'll do this again for sure, because I think there's a lot.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I'd love to, man. Well, thanks for the time, dude. Anybody reach out to me anytime, man. Just a normal guy trying to raise my kids and stay sane and make a couple bucks along the way. So
Thanks, brother. I'll catch up with you soon.
Roger that. See you, man.